call the meeting to order here at, can't see what time it is on my computer.
7:31.
7:31, okay. We have everybody?
Yep. Where's Pat? Is Pat McCourt here? I saw him a minute ago.
Yeah, he's here.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. You're on page 2.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay, there we go. So we'll start with citizen comments. Natalie, do you know if we have any?
No.
I have
Erica
one.
Chadwick's here.
Yeah, hi. Is now a good time? Can we talk?
Yeah, Erica, you can go ahead. Thanks.
Okay, yeah. So I'm
Just a
Erica.
point of order. I'm sorry, Martha. Last meeting, I thought that our council said we were supposed to do something to make sure we were here, like to make sure every council member was here, every commissioner. Is that right?
That's right, Dan. If everybody would just state their name, just call a roll of attendance, I guess, and everybody could answer, and then we know we're all here.
Okay, Julie, do you mind doing that for us?
Sure. Debbie
Thanks.
Braun,
Here.
Coyne,
Here,
Gaines,
Here.
McCourt,
Here.
and Mitchell.
Here.
Thank you.
Erica, you have the floor now.
Okay, yeah. So I'm Erica Chadwick. I live over on Seward Street in Evanston, and I was interested in seeing if maybe we could get Gaga Court added to maybe Leader Park or somewhere in that area where there seems to be like a lot of free space. Gaga is sort of a strange name for a fun outdoor game. It's like an octagon-sized court that's maybe, I don't know, maybe like 12 feet in circumference, and there's a ball, and it's probably there's like a wood barrier, and players kind of like get into this court and play like a little bit of a dodgeball game with each other. But what I've noticed about it is that it's really kind of a thing that like if 4 people are playing and 2 strangers come up, like if we weren't in COVID, people can easily jump in the game. And the other thing that I think is really interesting about it is for the age group of like 10 to 16 or 17, there's so many kids that love playing that game. And I just feel like there's not as many things for them to do in the park. And it would be a great thing to get like that age group of kids playing outside more. The other thing that I think is really fun about it is that a lot of adults can jump in. It's like kind of a game for all ages, and it seems to be fairly addictive for all the players. Like when people start playing it, it doesn't seem like they can really stop. So I just thought it would be an interesting thing to see if maybe we could get something like that. And it seems like a fairly inexpensive piece of equipment as well. So I don't know if anyone's heard of Gaga or has played it before or knows what I'm talking about.
Haven't played it?
Uh-huh.
We're not really supposed to be in a conversation, right?
Oh, okay, got you.
Debbie, can you just explain that to
Can
Erica?
Can I
Somebody?
explain?
Yeah.
Oh, Gaga, Erica, you explain it. My kids.
No. Explain how we don't go back and forth at citizen comments.
Oh,
That's fine.
Citizen comments is really, you're really addressing the president of the board, but
Okay.
there's not supposed to be any interaction back and
Okay. I mean, I think those are my only comments other than, I spoke to somebody this week about it a little bit more, and he said that maybe it could be a possibility. So that was my only comments.
Okay.
Thank you, Erica.
Yeah.
I have seen those at, well, I'm not supposed to respond. That's right. It's kind of awkward, but at least you know that that's why we're not saying anything back to you. It's just following the rules. And obviously we can talk more about that at a later time, either in this meeting or or later.
Okay.
Are there any other people waiting to speak in citizen comment that we have here today? And if so, you can chime in, or you can raise your hand digitally through the thing, the chat. Okay, I think there isn't anybody at the moment. So we'll move along to the approval of the minutes from February 11th, 2021. And I'll entertain a motion to approve. the
I
minutes.
move to approve those minutes. This is Coin.
Thank you. And McCord seconds. Okay. Any questions or comments about those minutes? No? All right. Julie, if you would roll call approval of those minutes.
Braun,
Yes.
Coin,
Yes.
Gaines,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
and Mitchell. Matthew Mitchell,
Yes.
thank you.
Great. Moving on then to the monthly bills, and if you'll talk about those for us, Brian.
Sure, I'll go through the unusuals. As you go down the list, BSN Sports was some badminton equipment for the spring and the summer. As we go further down, Dr. Pat Effian, that's her third payment, I believe, per contract. Emergency road service, we had a little, we had to be towed for a flat tire on the F-150. As we go further down, Illinois Association of Park Districts is our annual dues. That used to be a $5,000 bill. Now it's a $500 bill because we've been a member for so long. K Park Recreation is the 7 benches that we're going to put in various parks. Pinnell Andrews Construction, we had some snow removed from around the ice rink to further away because we had so much snow. There was nowhere for it to go on the ice rink. So we'll talk a little bit more about the ice rink later, but we had to get snow at the edge of the rink removed. And that's it for the unusuals.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the bills in the amount of 21,775.87.
Portal second.
Oh, fine. And
Oh, I
Julie,
meant to say Braun, sorry.
Mhm.
anybody have any questions or issues?
Just a comment, Brian. I think that's wild. We've never had that problem before with the snow, right?
Yeah, it was incredible because the rink
Wow.
was open and we had to clear the rink. The edge of the rink on the outside perimeter was about 3 or 4 feet high. So every time a kid skated by it, the snow just came back on the ice. So at any rate, we got it removed and got another week out of the rink.
Okay, roll call vote. Braun,
Yes.
Coin,
Yes.
Gaines,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
Mitchell. Mitchell, sorry, I
Yes.
can't hear you. Okay,
Sorry.
thank you.
Let me switch my.
Mhm.
All right, thank you, Brian. Moving on then to the petty cash for the month, and we'll hear from Brian on that again.
Okay, so the unusuals on fish keg, I'm on, on the petty cash. Fish keg is the first unusual. Because of so much snow, the crew worked a couple days right through lunch. So I went down to the fish keg, bought them lunch. They were very happy. Marcos Rubin and Kevin Williams did an outstanding job for us getting snow removed from not only the ice rink, but the buildings and sidewalks, et cetera. MailChimp emails over 2,000 and Zoom for the meetings. That's it.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve petty cash in the sum of 137.86. Braun,
This is Coin. I second.
And Julie, if you'll roll call us.
Braun,
yes.
Coin,
Yes.
Gaines,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Julie.
Mhm.
So moving on to monthly reports, we'll go to Brian's first.
Okay, in the past month, has brought us many changes, mainly due to the weather. We went from a lot of snow to no snow. As you know, we had several inches on more than one occasion. The maintenance crew remained extremely busy removing that snow from our sidewalks, buildings, and ice rink. We had the ice rink open through February 22nd. The weather became a little too warm after that to maintain ice, so it's been closed. As a matter of fact, it's down. It's put away for the year. But it was a very, very successful skating season. We ordered and had received 7 additional park benches. You just approved payment for those in the bills. They'll replace existing benches in Elks Tot Lot, Kaylee Tot Lot, and Reba Parks. The maintenance crew also has installed 9 new windows that we ordered in January. They are in 908 Seward. Ridgeville will also hold AYSO this spring in Cayman East and West Parks. AYSO will be here on Sundays from April 11th through May 23rd, noon to 5 p.m. They will play a form of pod soccer, a little bit different than previous years. Pod will consist of 2 teams, 8 to 10 children on each team and 2 coaches. We will have mandatory masking, screening questions, temperature checks, and frequent hand sanitizing. Parents attending the game will be present, masked, and 6 feet apart also. AYSO will stagger field usage. Last year we had 6 fields. So they'll play on 1, 3, and 5 first games, 2, 4, and 6 the next games to keep children and parents at a distance. This is all assuming we continue to make progress with COVID, which I think we will. We will also hold a food truck fest again this year in conjunction with the city of Evanston. It will be at Elks Park because of the COVID and spacing considerations. It'll be on the 2nd or 3rd Tuesday of July. We also put our 3 asphalt courts out to bid for repair, resurface layers, painting, and striping. We'll have bid numbers in the April meeting, but I've also gone ahead and got estimates that are not official numbers, but give us a little bit of idea what we're looking at. So it'll be about 18.5 in that neighborhood for the Ridgeville Park multi-use pad court in the eastern part of Ridgeville Park. The basketball courts, one at Ridgeville and one at Cayman West, will be about 10,500. Again, you'll have the final numbers at the April meeting. Delivery times for any portable skate equipment is 3 to 5 weeks. That's incorrect. It's 2 to 3 weeks. I got an update on that today. In April, you can accept the bid numbers on the courts. We hope to have at least the multi-use court done in May, and we could order equipment if that's so approved. On Friday, 2/26/21, I participated in a Zoom meeting with Lawrence Hemingway, the city of Evanston, along with Commissioner Gaines and Mitchell. We discussed temporary skate park locations. One location was Barton Avenue between Cayman East and West Parks. I expressed some concerns for our programs. Other concerns were expressed by Martha Gaines and Matt Mitchell, such as emergency services, access to the neighborhood, traffic control, etc. Laura stated that he had a few meetings. One's coming up March 17th. The other March 31st regarding the issue. He will also keep us posted on a traffic engineering study to be formed for that area. Please note that the Barton Avenue location is under review and not a final decision. And I think as we go along further, we're probably not going to see that. That's just my opinion. A couple comments. Done some research on Gaga. It looks like a great game. And I think we can do it in relatively inexpensive. And we'd also use something like that in camps. So at any rate, I'll have an update on that for you in the April meeting. That's it.
Brian, can I have a question?
Go ahead.
Are you putting concrete underneath the 7 park benches?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there concrete there now?
What's that?
Is there concrete there now?
No, the field's got to get a little drier.
Okay.
It's too wet for heavy vehicle to get on the field.
So you're taking out the existing benches basically and replacing them, putting concrete down and then putting benches
Right,
in.
just like every other new one. So
Okay,
it looks very nice.
Great.
Brian, this is Coin.
How are
Just
you?
a question. Oh, good. Thank you. This is a question on the ice skating. Roughly, we got 3 months use out of it. November, well, part of November, December, January, February. 2 to 3 months?
2 months would be more accurate.
All right,
All of
But-
February, a little of March, a little of December.
right. And, you know, when I first started in my first term, we didn't have it. Now we do. I'm biased. I love it. What's your take on that? Do you think like a lot of people are using it? It's totally worth us investing in this experience?
The ice skating rink?
Yeah,
Oh, it was heavily used because the weather cooperated. And after the first week or two of good weather, we got outstanding ice, meaning it was level, it was resurfaced relatively frequently. And I could tell you on Saturday mornings, I'd see 10 adults playing a little game all during the winter, especially after school hours. Not that school was in session, but 3 to 6, it was heavily used. Matt Mitchell used it several times. Pat McCourt used it. It was heavily used. People were extremely happy.
thank you, Brian.
I just like to say too, the guys really did an excellent job and were really diligent in cleaning the ice, getting the snow off it, getting the edges done. And I think everybody was very happy with it. And they could see the hard work that these guys put into it. And Kevin was there for a good part of the winter too.
Right.
He did a great job.
There was a comment by the Picozzi family, which is a hockey family, said it's the best ice on the North Shore. So
Yeah,
we
it
were
was-
happy to hear that.
Brian, I've been meaning to check in with you. Speaking of other ice rinks around, there's one in Evanston. I can't remember which one it is. If it's the one that's like east of us, or if it's the one that's on the north side of town. But somebody in the community organized an ice skating loaning program. I mean, and when I say program, it's just that she got the word out well enough that anyone who had extra skates, and then she connected also with someone in the community whose kids participate in the hockey program at Robert Crown, and got a bunch of donated equipment. And then I think I think the woman who organized this was just using her porch. I'll get more details, but they basically coordinated, a sizable amount of equipment that was donated that people could use for skating at that particular skating location. So it made me wonder, is that something we could do for our ice rink? Do we ever hear that people want to participate but don't have equipment? Have we ever helped supply equipment, or is it really just everybody kind of comes if they have their own skates?
In the past, we've had some donated skates. This year, we did not have the Cayman Fieldhouse open due to COVID. So in the future, if we got donated skates, we would have them at the Fieldhouse, and people could come in and try them on and try to skate. So if we got them, we would use them.
Okay,
But this year it wouldn't have worked because the field house was closed.
right. It wasn't really a place to put them. I had another question. I don't have the budget in front of me at the moment. How do those bid amounts compare to what we were expecting to pay for those asphalt situations?
Well, we will be over by about $10,000. In Jerry's report a little bit later, he'll talk about money we have to spend. So we'll see what the bid numbers come back at officially, and then make some decisions. Do we do 2 courts and wait for the third in the budget year next year? Or do we possibly wait and say, hey, we've got some extra dollars in June, let's get the third one done, something like that. But priority would be the Eastern Court at Ridgeville Park, then the basketball court at Ridgeville Park, and then Cayman West.
Thanks.
Will the two at Ridgeville be the same color? Right now, they're not.
Yes, yeah, we'll make them the same color.
Okay.
Probably about the same as they were.
Any other questions for Brian? All right, thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
We're gonna go next to Jerry's report.
Okay, you should have received distributed with the packet.
We had a great time. Whoa, and here's Uncle Dan.
You should find that with the packet, there were the usual monthly reports of the balance sheet, the statement of revenues and appropriations, the appropriations ledger, the treasury reconcilement, and the outstandings. Just kind of touch on some key indicators from those reports. On the assets and liabilities of the balance sheet, they declined by about 50,000 from January to February, primarily because our taxes receivable went down by 50,000 as we received tax revenue, but we also expended roughly that same amount out the door. So that kind of leads to the fact that our cash flow is basically unchanged going from January into February. Year to date, our revenues exceed our expenditures exceed our revenues by about $75,000, meaning we're funding our operations from our reserves rather than inflows of tax or program revenue right now. This is typical for the season that we're in due to the timing of tax receipts. In some years at this time, we've seen the cash flow turn around because program revenue came in early for the summer programs. The timing is a little different this year, so we're still in a shortfall position. It's worth noting that although we're exceeding our revenues by 75,000, our plan actually calls to exceed our revenues by 121,000 this year. And you might be inclined to think, oh, well, that's a good thing. We're not using as much as we thought we were going to use of our reserves. But that's a bit misleading because right now, the 75,000 is being used for day-to-day operations, and we have not spent any of our capital outlay planned money. The plan called for that 121,000 to really be spent on capital outlays, and none of that money has happened yet. So they're really two different things. Instead of kind of netting those two numbers together, you've got to add them together. So that's just a little thing to highlight there. Relative to the budget, our revenues from taxes are pretty much as expected so far. Our program revenues are running about $100,000 below the plan. Predicting program revenue was one of the more challenging parts of the budget this year because of the COVID-19 impacts. But the main reason is we haven't really started to bring in revenue yet for the summer programs. That there's still time in the year for that to turn around. And with registration coming up, I expect we'll see some big changes in that number. On the expenditure side of the budget, the appropriations are running about $132,000 below what we would have anticipated spending at this point in the year if we spent a level amount each month. This probably understates the variance a bit because we know some big capital outlays were not going to happen until the spring, and they haven't taken place yet. My concern at this point, another way to look at the expenditure side, is we're 8 months into our fiscal year and we have spent less than half of our budget. So we have 4 months to spend the remainder of the budget. It's important we follow our plan as closely as possible. Otherwise, it negatively can impact our ability to collect tax revenue in our planning for future years. So the takeaway is it's as bad to be too far under the plan as it is to be in a position where we're going over the plan. So it's just very, very important that we focus on spending what we plan to spend, particularly in the area of the capital outlays in the next few months, where we should see a big uptick in expenditures taking place in the next couple months, and we want that to happen. If we fall short in spending program money and we are short in bringing in program revenue, that would be a neutral impact on the finances, so I'm not as concerned about that. And also, to the extent that a capital outlay was going to be funded by reserves, if that capital outlay didn't happen this year and got delayed, that would be neutral as well because our reserves would still be there next year. What's important is that we fully expend what we're bringing in tax revenue so that we do not add unappropriated surplus to our fund balances at year end. So that's just something we got to stay really focused on. Brian and I have been having some conversations about that. So watch that closely in the next couple months. In terms of cash and investments, our balances are essentially unchanged from January, and none of our banking relationships exceed the FDIC limits. On the outstandings, they're looking reasonably good. We've got 5 board-approved items that are older than 90 days that have yet to clear the bank accounts. I met with Brian and Abby earlier this week to talk about what we need to do to focus on those. We also have 2 unapproved items that have aged to the point where there needs to be action taken. I had put in my report a recommended motion that I'm going to proceed to, but and I thought the other item was going to be in the bills reports tonight, but it was not. So I'm going to amend my first motion to address the second item because these have to be addressed at this point to avoid problems with the audit. So I've got a recommended motion for the board to approve the payment to American Flags in the amount of $8.82. I'm going to amend it to additionally add the language and to approve payment to Neopost in the amount of $142.99. This is to address items on the outstandings report. You'll see there's 2 items to American Flags there, one for $142.90, the other for $151.72. The $8.82 is the difference between the 2 of them. The wrong amount was put on the bills report. The Neopost is also listed on that report in the amount of $142.99. That paperwork just never got submitted to get included on the bills reports, and that's now been sitting outstanding for 2 months, so it's got to be addressed. So I'll pause there to ask if somebody could.
This is coin, so moved.
Julie, did you catch the amendment that Jerry made to his own motions there?
Not exactly. I have to approve payment to American Flags in the amount of $8.82 and to approve payment to Neopost.
In the amount of
For-
$142.99.
Okay,
I'll
instead
second.
of $142.90,
In the amount of $142.99.
99. Okay,
Okay, and then somebody seconded just now?
McCourt seconded it.
Thank you.
okay.
And Julie, if you'll roll call us then for those 2 motions.
Braun,
Yes.
Coin,
Yes.
Gaines,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay. And then the second motion I'm recommending the board act on tonight has to do with our budget plan that included moving $40,000 into the capital improvement fund to address the driveway and parking lot improvement project. 40,000 was the amount in the plan. In fact, we had some residual balance of 5,381.81 already in the fund that was unutilized money from a prior project, Brummel Park, I believe. So the amount we need to get over to the capital improvement fund is the amount listed in the motion, which is to authorize and direct the treasurer to transfer $34,618.19 from the general fund to the capital improvement fund for the driveway and parking lot improvement project anticipated and included in the district's appropriations ordinance for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021.
This is coin, so moved.
Portal second.
roll call vote, Debbie Braun,
Yes.
Coin,
Yes.
Gaines,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
and Mitchell.
Yes.
That's all I've got.
Can I have a question?
Yes.
Based upon, your awareness of the parking lot and the benches and the courts, do those 3 items satisfy your, need to get us taking care of those capital improvements? And
I just say full steam ahead with everything we had planned. And they were all a part of the plan, so absolutely. The concern or the point Brian expressed where maybe some of these quotes will come in a little higher than the budget called for. He has also mentioned, Brian, you've mentioned you're probably going to come in under budget on the windows. So I would say that's probably in even swap there. The biggest issue or concern there might be some of that money's in the recreation fund as opposed to the general fund, but we can figure that out in the months ahead here and work with that. But I say full steam ahead with everything you can, because we need to try and use up our budget.
Eric, can I make a comment real quick? The driveway, they should get the permit within weeks, and then we're looking to do that in May. Reba, I have the quote on Reba and a couple renditions that the board, will have to approve one of them. And the courts are out to bid. They total $99,000. And then there's a few other small jobs, the concrete underneath the benches. We're going to install the swing set in a little alley park behind Seward. That'll probably cost $3,000 or $4,000 for installation. And then I can't read my own writing here. Oh, we're painting the shed in the very near future, which is in the budget for about $5,000. So that's $118,000. Those projects will all get done before June 30th.
Okay, great.
Jerry, this is Coyne. My takeaway from your report, just in general, is that you had some concerns about what we had planned and what happened because of COVID. And I just wanted to clarify and ask your opinion. Those changes, the way the plan changed from our budget, it's almost 100% due to COVID, not due to our administration or our staff. I mean, our staff and administration have done a fantastic job in responding to COVID on a budget level, right? It's just a matter of
our
us
plan. And our
adjusting.
plan has not changed. Our plan is
Okay.
We have not modified or changed our plan. I'm just saying we're at a point in the year where we don't have a lot of time left, and we are way underspending the plan. And as long as we know what we're doing and going to spend a lot of money in the next couple months, we're okay. But I'm just
Right. And
let's
you were
not get-
clear in that. You were
Yeah,
very
yeah.
clear. I just wanted to say that I wanted to point out to the bean counters in our community that the reason that happened is more about COVID than administration. Do you agree?
Yeah,
from a
and
budget
things,
level?
yeah, well, and just in terms of timing, where we're at in the year, we may be in a very different place in another 30 days. On the revenue side is the one place where we are underperforming the plan in terms of program revenue, but that's mainly a timing issue with camp registrations. We have decreased our plan decreased the anticipated revenue from like a prior year, 185,000 down to only 120,000. So far, we have only brought in 20,000. So we're even on a reduced number, we are 100,000 below our plan.
Right,
But
because of
it's too early
COVID,
to
not
say
because
that's
of administration. It's a COVID issue.
Well, it's a timing issue. I mean, our plan tried to anticipate COVID and anticipated it being 120. But the timing of things is such we don't even have the 120 that we had at this time last year. We're 100,000 yet below that, but we may yet catch that up in the next 30 days. So just, it's, month by month, let's just, watch that very carefully. That one may, come around, and it's okay if we come in under revenue on plan and we come under on expenses on programs, because those two balance each other and don't affect the levy. To the extent that programs are paid for out of tax revenue, we need to spend the tax revenue piece to it. The program fees piece to it isn't as much a concern. To amplify that a little bit, you kind of recall one of the things we talked about last budget season was one of the options we had was to reduce program fees and pay for the programs more out of the tax revenue piece of the money as a mitigation just as we get through this COVID time. We did not opt to do that in our planning, but there may come a point where if our revenue is really low, we still have that possibility as something to put on the table for getting through the rest of this year. Too soon to comment on that. Let us get through the registrations and all that. But the capital outlays, I just want to make sure, we really try not to delay any of them into next year and get them done as planned. To, Brian, your point, when we look at the appropriations ledger, we've got in the general fund, $31,500 of capital improvements to facilities budgeted for that has not been spent yet. We've got in the recreation fund, we've got $70,000 remaining out of a $74,000 budget there. And then we have the $40,000 in the capital improvement fund. Those three together are about $140,000. So I'm really looking to see us spend $140,000 on capital projects between now and June 30th.
Jerry, nobody's ever said that to me before.
I hear you.
Amen.
Put it this way, we will do our best.
All right. We beat that horse to death, I think.
Brian, you mentioned Reba's. Reba's not included in that, is it?
And yeah, Reba is included in that. And my number of 118 that I know we'll spend, Reba is included in that. It's $30,000. Yeah.
And do you think that's going to be completed before?
Oh, absolutely. You'll approve one of the two options next month.
Okay.
I'll order it. It's 3 to 4 weeks. And then we'll get somebody to install it in May or June.
And you have those quotes already, or you're going to?
Yeah. Both options are about 20 grand, and then you have to pay for removal of the existing equipment and installation of the new equipment. So that'll all happen.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Jerry. And if everybody is ready, we're moving on then to Natalie's monthly report.
Yes. Good news. The spring program registration just opened. So some of that revenue is coming in as we speak. The registration for our spring classes opened on March 1st. We're offering classes again, both online and in studio. Registration for those already is doing very well. Most of the youth Studio 908 classes are already sold out, which is awesome. The spring session is going to run April 4th through May 9th. Registration has also opened for the Imaginary Games Spring Break Camp, which filled in about 5 minutes from opening it up. So that's good. And that camp is going to run at Ridgeville Park between March 29th and April 2nd. And then just to add to that, so our summer camp application process is open currently, and we'll be taking applications through April 2nd. Then once we have our lottery, we'll be registering families starting April 5th. So the majority of our summer camp revenue will be coming in April. So hopefully that gets that number up a little bit. Mini camp registration for the Imaginary Game and Playwell Technologies Lego camps open on March 15th. That's also going to be a really big day. I've received a lot of emails of interest in these camps already, so I have no doubt that they're going to fill. The Imaginary Game specifically has a list about a mile long for their camps. So those are going to fill very quickly, and we've gotten a lot of interest also in the Lego camps this year. We're doing a Jedi camp 1 week and a Pokemon camp another week. So I am optimistic about those. Our garden programs, the Garden to Table program began on March 4th. The program is completely full. Abby Schumacher will teach the class through Zoom in March at least, and folks will be in the main studio in mid-April. Catherine Egan is recruiting volunteers to help her prepare the gardens for the Youth Grow team this summer. And finally, all 30 of the Elks garden plots have been rented at this time, and we still have a pretty significant wait list. I actually spoke with somebody who runs the garden programming for the city of Evanston, and she was asking if we had any availability because she also has a wait list. Everybody's really excited to get outside, especially now that the weather is so nice. Earth Day event. I am working with Brian to put something together to offer either on Thursday, April 22nd, which is Earth Day, or the Saturday before. I'm kind of imagining this event as a kind of clean up the district or clean up the neighborhood type thing where we could supply gloves and trash bags. We could clean up everything and then meet back at the park for a concert, maybe some snacks and some art activities for the kids. As soon as I have more details about that in April, I will let you know. And then the last thing I wanted to say that I didn't include in my report, I've learned a lot in the past day or two about signing up for a COVID vaccine. So I've accumulated a lot of knowledge, and I was thinking, I think that would be really helpful for people in the district to have as well. So I'm going to put that information on our website. Just all the notes I've taken, all the different links that I've signed up for, all the different Facebook groups, different things that people can do to sign up for to get information on how to get a vaccine. It's pretty daunting. It's a daunting process. So if there's anything that we can do to help make that easier for folks, I would like to do that. So I'm going to work on that tomorrow, and then in the coming week as well, to put that on the front page of our website.
Natalie, I have a question.
Yes.
For the mini camps, is there going to be any prioritization like there is for summer camps, or is it just going to be open?
No, those are going to be open registration because they're not ours. We're hosting them and working with the organizations, but it's really run and staffed by them. So they kind of make the rules on that. So those will be open registration. And I've put notes about that on the website so that folks are aware. I realize I didn't put a note about that in the brochure. So I've had a lot of people email and ask about how to join the lottery for Imaginary Game, and had to tell them that there's not one. So.
Great. Thank you.
I'm glad you asked that, Matt, because I assumed that we would be doing the same procedure for all the camps, but that makes sense that we're doing it differently in those situations.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions, comments?
Martha, I just realized as I was talking about gardens that last time you had requested an update from Catherine, and I totally dropped the ball on that. I forgot to ask her. So I will reach out to her ASAP.
That's totally fine. I would love to hear from her. I think for a number of reasons, I think for the board to just get an update from her directly would be awesome. Also, as a way for her to get the word out about some of the stuff she's offering, the opportunities for kids to get jobs through her programming, the volunteering, all that. Do you know what kind of a response she's getting so far about those kinds of things? Has it been good?
Yeah, I believe so. I'm going to the Mayor's Summer Youth Employment Program event, I guess, in March at ETHS, which is what I normally do to recruit summer staff. And I believe that she is also going to that as well. So she always gets a lot of interest in that. So, or at least she did last year. So I feel like she'll will again this year.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, thank you for your report, Natalie.
Yeah.
We're going to move on then to JC with the report from the Ready Committee.
Hi there.
Hi.
Okay, so the Ready Committee has reviewed and is in the final stages of finalizing the prospective RPD equity policy, which includes the equity lens. We plan to have it ready for the board to review and hopefully adopt for the April board meeting, for the next board meeting. And then the next Ready Committee meeting is going to be on March 18th at 6:30. But I also have a request. I'm hoping, so the Ready Committee would like to be able to pay a community member a stipend to take notes and manage the agenda distribution for the committee. This would facilitate our adherence to the Open Meetings Act, further engage the community in our work towards equity, as well as facilitate the efficient completion of our tasks. We have found it's very difficult to be a part of a meeting and take notes at the same time. So that was something that we were, a call for action that we were making and hoping you all would discuss and see if that's something you all would do.
And Brian, I would love to know if you think it would make the most sense to duplicate what it is that we do for the board minute taker, or if we create something different specific to those duties that JC just outlined for the Ready Committee. It seems like at least whatever it is that we're doing for the minute taker for the board could be sort of a starting place. If not, go ahead with a similar arrangement. Debbie, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Are we asking Brian to write up like a job description or something? I think what my understanding was that JC was asking for just the board to vote on a stipend. Whether the board,
Well, that's another question actually, is whether the board would even need to do that. Because if the committee feels that that's an expenditure that we have to make in the realm of, equity money we've already budgeted, is it as simple as we're just using some of the funds that we've budgeted for equity for this purpose? Or is this something, Brian, that you think would require specific board approval? But I was talking, Debbie, more specifically about what it is that we're paying the person, but you raised a completely separate issue, which is that when we're paying the minute taker for the board meetings, does that have to be considered a job that gets advertised and that we interview for? I think historically we've just had.
I don't know. Natalie, did we do that?
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Natalie said that it would get posted.
Oh, yeah. It makes sense that it would.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be posted as soon as the board.
Okay.
I was under the understanding that the board had to approve that we could allocate money from the equity part of our budget to pay for that stipend. And once that's approved, then I'm going to post it.
Yeah, I think that's what we're voting on tonight, right?
Yes, right, Brian? I think I talked to Brian about this. It's
Right. So
because it's budget money. We just need y'all to give your blessing on it.
If we make a few assumptions that for March, April, May, and June, you're going to have 2 meetings and have a minute taker for both meetings, you're looking at $400 because we pay Julie Larson as a similar wage for 1 meeting. But at any rate, there's money in the equity budget. So it's just a matter of giving us the approval to go ahead and do that, and we'll post it.
Do I make a motion to approve a stipend for the Ready Committee secretary?
Yeah, I was just wondering if we have to vote on this, or if that's just.
This is Coyne. I agree with Martha, that question. It's already in the budget. This is not a new employee we're talking about. It's just part of the equity. It's just part of the equity fund. And if the committee feels that they need to spend money if the committee feels like they need to spend money on a note taker, that's totally within their realm. I think this is just part of the job, and I don't think it takes a motion.
Thanks, Dan. Jerry, did you want to go ahead?
I think it's there's some things to think about here. One difference is the board position is a position of the park district. And so the individuals on payroll, and we're compliant with all the payroll laws that way. The Ready Committee is supposed to be separate from the park district. And so one question I have is, if we put somebody on payroll, does it maintain the appropriate distance? If we don't put them on payroll, we're going to have to handle it as a 1099 paid employee, and just know that we're going to have to handle it. It's tricky when we pay out. It's kind of like how we hire bands to perform for events at the park district, and we pay them by 1099 type payments as opposed to people that we have on the payroll. So I think one thing that needs to be discussed and determined is which type of an employee, which type of hiring arrangement is this going to be?
Well, what do you suggest, Jerry, as treasurer? How would it be easiest or make the most sense on the books?
Easiest and most sense on the books is to handle it as an employee that's on payroll, but I don't know how that is consistent with what we're trying to do with the Ready Committee. So I kind of would welcome input from Dr. Effiam perhaps, or from JC.
Jerry, I appreciate that. I'm curious about that too. And I would look to Dr. Effiam for that for sure. Because if that person is a W-2 employee, that may be, essentially going against what we're trying to do of bringing in another community member that's not attached to the park district. So I'm not sure, Dr. Effiam, if.
Yes. My recommendation would be to do a 1099. I know that keeps that separation line very clear.
Okay, that makes sense.
And it's sort of what we talked about at the last Ready Committee meeting is you have all the staff and folk who are working for the Park District running the Ready Committee. It just gets really complicated.
And I think that makes a lot of sense from the perspective of the Ready Committee, because if it is from an IRS perspective, if the district is defining the duties of and overseeing the performance of the individual performing the task, it has to be an employee. If the Park District is not defining it, it's kind of the age-old battle that's going on right now with an Uber driver. Are they an employee or an independent contractor? So this is really an independent contractor that's going to be performing this job, and we cannot, from the Park District, dictate how they perform their job or supervise the performance. I think it means we may need to have a written agreement like we do with the performers.
I'm comfortable with that. Having them be a real independent contractor.
And this is coined, I ditto that. I mean, that just makes most sense.
Yeah. So but we don't have to have a motion and vote on any of this. This is just a recommendation this is just the way we'll do it. Right? Is that what we're?
Right. So I think Natalie, can go ahead and post if that was Natalie that was going to be doing it.
Yeah, she'll do all that because that's legally, we should do that anyway, right?
I think so. And also, moving forward, we can plan for this to be an expenditure that's just part of the Ready budget moving forward. We didn't know that we would need this, but now that we do, it's probably going to be in perpetuity. Yeah, Natalie?
I just have a quick question. I don't know that I've made a job post before for specifically a 1099 independent contractor. Is there language for that anywhere? Have we done that before, Brian or Charles? Do you know if there's any specific language I should use for a job posting like that?
I don't know that we've done that before other than contracts, and we have that language, but it's geared towards an artist.
Yeah.
Right. And we're not, as a district, we're not under any obligation to follow the same protocol to post an opening for a district opening. This is very different. It's just up to the committee to hire somebody as a stipend to help out with the minutes. That just makes total sense to me. So it's a different protocol.
Yeah. I want to make sure I share it with the community so that people within the district have an opportunity to apply for that position and get the stipend. But I don't know if there's specific language I need to use in that post so that folks understand it's a 1099. You know what I mean? Because they have to.
So basically,
They have to record. Sorry.
You're just putting this out for contract. As if you were going to be buying a truck and you wanted to put that out for contract. It's the same kind of contract that we put out for anything else.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
Well, then who writes the contract?
We do.
Okay.
When you say we, it's the Park District that's contracting for the service.
Yes. Okay. I might need to email you about that.
Okay.
Because I understand what we do. I understand what we do with our concert artists. We have a contract for that. That already exists. So I can use that as a template. I guess.
That's a little different because on that type of contract, you're not putting that out for bid.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, basically, we're essentially putting this out for bid.
Yeah. Okay. I will figure it out.
You can email me.
I'm going to email you. Thank you.
You can even use that other thing, the phone.
Oh, yeah. I got
That's all I have, unless anyone has any questions for me.
Anybody? Okay, thank you, JC, for the update.
Thank you, JC.
Okay, moving on in the agenda then to old business. Our first point there is that lingering barbecue amendment. So Matt, did you want to say anything new on this? Would you like to see any action take place tonight, or did you want to table this?
So I'd like to table it. I have talked to a couple other commissioners. I would really like to get this done at the next meeting. I know we have not come to a consensus. Next meeting is going to be Commissioner McCourt's last meeting, and also the last meeting before May, where I think we should have a policy in place. So I don't think we're ready to move tonight. I would move to table it, or I guess we don't need to. But I really would like to get it done or put my proposal for a vote at the next meeting.
Okay. Moving on then to discuss update on policies inspired by the IAPD self-assessment. Anything new on this one tonight?
No.
Okay. And then moving on, discuss addition of skate equipment to Ridgeville Park Court. This is probably where we should maybe go into a little bit more detail about that meeting that we had with Lawrence Hemingway. And Matt, you can also maybe give additional updates about what you've been in communication with the skating people about. So that meeting, as Brian already said, was attended by me and Matt and Brian and some members of City Council and Lawrence Hemingway. Do one of you want to go into any other details about that? It sounds like we don't have to go into too much detail because they aren't necessarily going forward with what it was that we talked about, or at least we are feeling like that's what it's looking like right now, right?
So that's my understanding, is I don't see us and the city of Evanston coming to an agreement. I think they'll likely go in a different direction and we should move forward on our own.
Okay, and that was my sense of things at the meeting as well, is that it probably was going to be best, this is how I felt and still feel, that the city do something that's great, temporary, permanent, maybe both, but that we go ahead with our plan anyway, because there wasn't, in my opinion, a clear purpose to consolidating efforts. I think it actually serves the community better that the city does some sort of thing, whatever they end up doing, wherever they end up doing it, and that we do kind of what we've started to talk about. So, Brian, do you want to add anything about that meeting or about where we're at now?
Yeah, well, here's what I suggest. Obviously, we're going to do the court, the multi-use court. I would suggest that maybe the board approve some expenditure for skate equipment. We don't know what pieces, because I want to talk to the people who skate. And between Ridgeville and the people who skate, we come to some kind of agreement on what to purchase. Also, March 17th, we're going to find out more from Lawrence Hemingway and the Zoom meeting regarding what the city's going to do. So for instance, and I'm not saying this is going to happen. In fact, I don't think it's going to happen, is my opinion. But if they say we're taking over Barton Avenue, why should we buy skate equipment for our park 3 blocks away? That doesn't make sense. But again, I don't think that's going to happen. So I would suggest you let me go ahead and move and speak to some experts in the city of Evanston community with a budget in mind for some portable equipment for that court when the court's finished. And I think we talked 2,000 to 3,000 originally. And you could buy nice 5, 6 pieces of equipment for that.
I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, I'm definitely comfortable with that. I think the city of Evanston is going to do a big deal skate park, and they don't need to deal with us. And I get that. And I think our skate park should be just, you know, temporary in terms of we can move it when we need to and just make it safe, make it all that, but we don't need to go all out. I think the city of Evanston is going to end up being a prime spot skate park city.
Brian, this is Coyne. Thank you for your work on this. It sounds great.
Brian, I have some questions. Do you feel like your next step is talking to the skate people in terms of like which pieces we actually buy and how they'll work together and how they'll fit in the space and stuff like that?
Correct, but after March 17th.
Okay. And another question I have is, have you given some thought to which pieces would be of the size and weight that would allow us to move them more easily as opposed to pieces that wouldn't move so easily?
Last month and this month, I sent you the same packet, and the stuff 70 pounds, 100 pounds. 2 guys could easily move that off the court for our summer camps, put it back on the court. That's not a big issue. What we don't want is the 300-pound ramp that was homemade last year and made a lot of noise at the end of the summer because we can't move that. That's just, and this will be in addition to whatever the city does again. So we need to wait till after March 17th. But if you say, okay, find $3,000, I'll just rearrange what we spend. And then after March 17th, start meeting with the skate professionals and decide what pieces that we might buy. Come back to you in April and say, this is what we're going to buy. And it'll be here in 2 to 3 weeks.
Sounds good. And that meeting on the 17th is open to the community, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, okay.
And I would say I gave the skate community a heads up about where I thought things were going. I'm good about not over promising or making any promises. But I've been in communication with them in the last week.
Yeah. Matt, do me one more favor on that communication. And we have discussed this, you and I, they can't bring out their own homemade equipment. The insurance company is dead set on that.
I think, we're all in agreement on that. That was a short-term fix for last year. It's not sustainable. And we're trying to do something to address it for this season. So I agree. And I'll communicate that. And also, Brian, I'll try to set something up with the skate community.
Post March 17th.
Yeah, after next week.
Yep.
Great.
Thank you.
I'll put that on my calendar.
Okay, so I think we're done with that item for the moment. We can move on to discussing the request for the horseshoe pits. So Matt and Brian, where are we at with that?
Well, Mr. Tan sent an email back to me after I asked him to look at the Elks Park area that we had discussed. And of course, with the snow, you couldn't go look at it. So he did get a chance to go look at it. He suggested to put it in lighter Cayman East or Cayman West. And I don't think either one of those is a good idea. I think it's Elks Park and that's it. With metal horseshoes flying around. There's no room in Cayman East. There's less room in Cayman West because of baseball, AYSO soccer, and the hoop court that's there. So I just think if we're going to do it, we do it at Elks Park.
Elks Park doesn't have a lot of stuff. I think it'd be great for them.
Commissioner Brown, I agree with you 100%. I think Elks Park would be perfect.
And I guess my only concern is there community interest besides Mr. Tan? He's the only person I've talked to who's really interested in it. I think it's a good idea.
I think you're going to get older people out there. you know, they'll see other people that age group. I think I would hope.
Well, yeah, I'm happy to go forward with them.
Yeah.
Do we have any additional benches planned for any time soon, Brian, that we're going to go into any of the parks? Because I'm kind of picturing that wherever these horseshoe pits end up, it might be kind of nice if there was a bench or even two that was, and maybe even a little storage shed if we do decide that we're going to be offering any of that equipment. I understand it's going to disappear quickly, and maybe we're doing the rental thing or people bring their own, but I'm just kind of thinking in terms of more physically delineating where that area is, and also sort of making it a little bit of a rest area too, where people who are waiting for the other guy to throw their things can sit down on a bench or something like that.
There are two benches there, but they're not in the 25-yard range from where we're talking about putting this. But if we're not spending enough capital because we've done a good job, meaning we like the windows, Jerry briefly touched on it. Ruben installed the windows, did a great job. We saved thousands of dollars instead of having a contractor do that. So come May, maybe even early June, Jerry and I have this discussion and said, Jerry, how we doing? And Jerry will say, well, you better hurry up and spend $10,000 more, whatever the situation may be. We could purchase 2 more benches. We could purchase a shed. We could purchase some kind of storage thing. But we wait until late May, early June for that kind of decision. So it's very possible. And if not, then it's in the July budget of next year. Simple as that. Because we're going to buy more benches to finish the entire park district, would be my plan.
Okay. So where do we land on that then? Are we sort of finalizing something in terms of location, or are we still in process on that?
I would hope you come to a consensus or a motion, one of the two for Elks Park, because the other 3 don't work.
All right, this is Braun. I'll make a motion to, I'm not sure how to word it, to have the horseshoe stuff at Elks Park.
And this is Coyne. I second that, Commissioner Brun.
And Julie, if you'll roll call us.
Debbie Braun,
Yes.
Dan Coyne,
Yes.
Martha Gaines,
Yes.
Pat McCourt,
No.
and Matthew Mitchell.
Yes.
All right, great. Thanks, Julie. So we're moving into a new business, which actually doesn't have anything in it on this agenda. And so that would bring us to call of the commissioners. And we can go alphabetically as usual. So Commissioner Braun, did you want to say anything?
No.
Okay. Commissioner Coyne?
Sure. I just want to give a shout out to Commissioner Mitchell. I'm very proud of how you've advanced from your campaign from primary to the general election for the 8th ward. And I just want to say I'm proud of you and support you, sir. And if there's anything our district can do for the 8th ward, I hope you know that we're there for you. Thank you.
Alrighty, and we are moving on to me. I'm gonna pass. Commissioner McCourt?
Nope.
Okay, and Commissioner Mitchell?
Just briefly, thank you, Dan, for your comments. I like to keep my Ridgeville work very separate from any other political work. So I intend to keep doing that. Thanks.
All right, so we actually have another citizen comment section here at the end of the meeting. If anyone is wanting to speak, now would be the time. Alrighty, doesn't sound like there's anybody there, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mrs. Braun, I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
McCordle second.
And Julie, go roll call it.
Ron,
Yes.
Point,
Yes.
Gaines,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
and Mitchell.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you. You
Good
too.
night, everyone.